Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Jim and Sam Town Square. I'm Scott King. Jim and Sam fans know me from the Forbes articles, and I'm joined, as always, by multi-Emmy Award-winning television producer Chris Cangilla, who last week joined us a little bit from Colorado. Chris, how was your trip? It's good to see you back, man.
What a great time that was. Great weather. Great to be in the mountains. Great to see my 92-year-old mother. All those things. It was wonderful. Thanks, man.
That's awesome. So glad to have you back, as this week we are recapping week 2 of September 2023, and it was a week kind of different than we've been seeing, because we talk about how we like the studio talk, liked everything in studio this week, myself, but a lot of guests, a guest heavy week. And let's get to not having to do with guests so much because he declined to interact with one guest.
Yes,
but let's
right.
get to Troy, man. I mean, I feel like every time we're either start with Troy or diving deep into Troy since we had him on our show. But I know you're a big fan of Quanstradumbass. So why don't you go over some of his predictions and if the guys think they're happening or going to happen?
Yeah, we launched the whole Monday with talking about those things. And of course, it's all, centered around COVID. And if we're going to, experience some shutdowns, and it looks like some of those things are starting to happen. So, Troy might be right on it. And yeah, I think Troy has a special place in our heart in the town square here because he was our first guest. And I loved him before, and I definitely love him after.
Absolutely. And, I guess we'll talk a little bit about it now, so we don't have to do too much heavy lifting when we break down the guests. But he did, as I said, when Violet J and Neil deGrasse Tyson were in studio, I think Sam asked him if he had a question. Troy, knowing where that goes and having done it before, declined the question. And I actually loved it. I usually am an NDT fan. I thought he was a little arrogant with Violent J. I thought he just could have been like, on the surface, this is a guy who's a famous rapper, has done very well. Yes, he's wearing clown makeup. I'll just entertain his questions. I thought he had a tone. When he talked to him, and he wasn't just kind of taking the situation for what it was. He's starting to strike me as more arrogant. How about you?
Yeah, I agree with you fully. It seemed like maybe he was a little rushed and didn't have time to sweat fools, if you will. So yeah, he kind of put him on the pay no mind list a little bit and just kind of went through it. And he was the one that was like, anybody have any other questions? Like, this is not your show. Let the show hosts do what they need to do. And Sam took over and went through some of the guys, and then he went to Troy. Troy, you got a question? He goes, nope. I loved it. It was great.
One of my favorite parts of the week. Let's keep going with Troy. He was very involved. I mean, basically throughout the week, there was the news story where Paul Landis, a former Secret Service agent to Mrs. Kennedy, was involved with the JFK assassination. Not the assassination, but the fact that in his new book, Final Witness, he says that he had found a bullet and put it on a stretcher by Kennedy. Jim, furious with him, dragged him through the mud all week. Troy also kind of piling on, saying he's tired about any kind of new news with JFK or new revelations or coming back up. This got me to wonder, and he's kind of like, I don't think he really believed too much of the Mexican Congress stuff either, when they said they brought in 2 aliens, I believe. Are you starting to feel like Troy is no longer a conspiracy guy?
I don't know. I think he's just resigned himself that he's never going to find out the truth. And he's just tired of it all. Just tired of it. I get it from him and Jim. And so, yeah, I think he's always going to have the questioning, well, you're such a big X-Files fan. Wasn't it question everything or something like that?
The truth is out there.
The truth is out there. So I think Troy still believes that the truth is out there. He's not going to get it.
Truth is out there. It's on my picture right there.
There it is. I see it.
And also, this is something that you caught. It's kind of with his investigating of the truth. He's not pursuing that as much anymore. He is investigating smells. What happened in studio?
Yeah, Jim usually has a super sensitive, nostril aficionado? I don't know he can smell things all the way through things. And Troy's, I smell something. And Sam asked it, is it Jim? Because usually it is. No. So he went over to each guy, and you hear Troy go over each guy as he walks around the studio trying to smell it. They never really pinpointed it, but yeah, it was kind of funny.
I think was it during that break where they kind of revisited and mentioned the Donald Sutherland interview, which I could not believe at the time. That's something that's not talked about as much anymore. You had an iconic actor in there.
Huge.
Feeling a certain talent, Chris. What was that talent?
Yeah, they said, I don't know how it came up, that he can fart or pass gas on command. And they said, really? I said, yeah. Can you do it? And he goes, meh. He just did it. It was amazing. It was,
It was. I remember it was like a rumbling, like.
It's just like, wow. Yeah. Very good stuff.
Speaking of happy moments, this was a fun one. It's nice to hear about, myself being a collector. Nice to hear Jimmy talk about his stuff. I enjoy the occasional celebrity picture as well, or I have at least in the past. But they talked about happiest moments of your life. I think Jim might have been the only one who weighed in the way the conversation unfolded. But he said that the happiest moment of his life, and I mean, this would be hard to top for anybody, was getting a picture with Black Sabbath at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I believe it was right after the induction. So they got the, what is it? You're the Rock and Roll guy, plaques or pictures, and picture with them there.
Yeah, I think that was pretty cool. And they have these moments that are, kind of like brush with greatness, that are etched in there. Do you have a happiest moment that in your life?
I think I mentioned on the show before, but probably my favorite actor being Hugh Jackman, and being such a fan of what he did with Wolverine and other movies like Prisoners and Prestige. Getting to interview him via Zoom last year in December. I don't know if his publicist told him I was a fan, but it was 30 minutes of a friendly guy who it was very clear that I could ask him anything. Not only that I could ask him anything, but that he would give me a great response, and broke some news about a role he passed on. No, I'm sorry, he didn't pass on it, but it wound up not panning out. He's very interested in playing John Scott, former Blackhawk, former All-Star MVP, who was a really tough guy. So broke some news there, talked all about Wolverine. It was just awesome. And he had so much time for me. So what was yours, Chris? What was that?
Yeah. And just going back to that a little bit, if people want to see that interview, it's still up on that YouTube channel, the channel that you're probably watching us on right now. So search that out. It was a great job, Scott, on that for sure. But for me, I might have told this story, and I'll be very brief. I was a videographer, news shooter, going out and doing stories, and I got the opportunity to go out and interview somebody here in the Chicagoland area. Long story short, wasn't really happy about this assignment, but when I got there, I turned to be the best day of my life. The guy's Jim Peterick, the founding member of Survivor, and he has a wonderful home. He's the sweetest, nicest guy. I was a huge fan of 80s Survivor, and he wrote songs for 38 Special and all that kind of stuff. So when we got done with the interview, I said, Jim, I'm a guitarist that never really made it. Would you mind giving me 10 minutes of your time and jamming with me? And he obliged, and we played his songs together. And that was my brush with greatness. So that was a very happy moment. Now, thinking about this, of course, we have to mention, getting married, having our kids. Those are milestones.
This is more work. Kind of following Jim's lead. It's more like career. You could kind of tie it with your career a bit. So
right. And they also,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And they also talked about, most important thing, and this is during, I think, the Craig Gass interview. Yeah, they're talking about most important things in your apartment. Now, I haven't had an apartment in a long time, but, the most important things in your home. And Jim mentioned the most important thing in his home is the the Black Sabbath poster, or some of the other posters that he has in there, Kiss posters and stuff like that. And Sam said, not your girlfriend? He goes, well, I think it's the 9 Kiss posters and then my girlfriend. So that's the most important thing in his home. But yeah, for me, I guess it'll have to be those 2 little things back there. I think my Emmys, mean a lot to me. Getting an Emmy is weird because, it's nice to get that recognition. Say it for me, Scott. Recognition. There you go. Yeah, it's nice to get that, even though
a little redundancy there.
Yeah, exactly. Even though you can't speak, but it's nice to get that. But I've had better stuff that didn't get nominated, and I had some stuff that won. So it's cool, and I think they're pretty treasured, and it's nice to have them. How about you? Do you have something that means a lot in your home?
Emmys look amazing always. So there's I'm lucky I'm a collector. I got some cool stuff, but I will say that my interviews for Forbes, I think, really went up a notch when I just decided to be like, I don't just have to. Still love comedians, but let's just see if I go for some things and what's the editors say. And I'm just going to tilt my computer. You can kind of see it a little bit here.
Yeah.
Right there is I interviewed Robert Downey Jr. on a red carpet at a Chicago event, and he had a signing a little bit after. So I sent in some comic books from the sign so I could pay for that, basically. So break even. Yeah. And I think I actually made a little bit of money, but that is picture me interviewing him.
Yeah, that's a great one. And I think that might be on this site too somewhere. I think it could be some of the banners or something on our YouTube channel.
Signed it with a inscription, "I am Iron Man," to Scott, "I am Iron Man," which he says his last scene as
that's
Iron
right. And I believe he ad-libbed that a little bit. It wasn't.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think
so that's very cool.
Yeah,
and everybody, please check out Scott's 4 articles as well, because this wouldn't exist without those articles, because that's kind of how we met.
Exactly.
That's
full
right.
circle, man.
Yeah, there's a lot of full circle stuff, especially with Neil coming back into the group and talking about the town square, our namesake.
I was hoping for a big, hey, they named the podcast after you, but I think the fans knew.
We get it. We get it. Sure.
All right. So something happened with Sam that we're going to be closely monitoring, and I love it. It's a more masculine Sam. Sam has discovered American football. He watched 3 games on the first NFL Sunday the past weekend, and he likes the 49ers because they got the cute boys, which I hope he keeps telling us. And I think you and I watch NFL games a little differently, Chris. I kind of just check out what's on, I look for the Bears, obviously, and I check out some other games I might want to watch on Xfinity. I do enjoy since last year, the Amazon Thursday night games I like, but what kind of I was going to say what kind of package you got, but what kind of cable package do you have?
Yeah, I moved from Colorado, from Denver area here about 20 some years ago.
Yeah.
And for those 20 some years, I'm a big Bronco fan. So I had to get the Bronco games, and the only way to do that was to get the NFL Sunday Ticket that used to be on DirecTV and was for all those years. And then now it just switched to YouTube. So YouTube has the NFL Sunday Ticket. So thank God my son is now, an earning member of society and not in school, because we split the cost, because it's kind of pricey. So, getting the Sunday tickets is just a must for me. So, yeah, it was nice to see Sam, embracing his manhood and actually manning up and watching a couple of games. Let's see if that continues. But yeah, he was like the sports, authority, if you will, all week. They were talking about many sporting events, and he was taking the lead. A weird place for Sam to be.
It was strange. He fired off some tweets last night I saw during the Eagles game. So absolutely love it. And we've talked about Black Adam calling him before. Hall of Fame Jim and Sam caller for sure. They might go to him the most even. But he had a really interesting breakdown of Troy. And Troy, I guess you could say, is split personalities, perhaps. You got
the 3-headed Troy, right?
3-headed Troy. I love it.
Yeah, there you go.
You got the Florida Troy. I think Black Adam was saying what we all say is Florida Troy is very chill. New York Troy, you could say he gets a little, I think he's better now there, but in the past he's been a little edgy, and for good measure, the things he's seen and had to deal with in New York. And now we added the 3rd head, Swifty Troy. And Swifty Troy, what do you remember what he said?
I don't remember exactly, but it is a little fruity, maybe.
Yeah, he said like sissy or something.
Yeah, a little bit. And Troy took that badge of honor. He said he's happy to be there. Yes, he will wear that with pride. Yeah, Black Adam's great. He actually even talked about Godfrey doing an impression of Jim Norton, and if Jim knew about it. And Jim said, yeah, I did know about it. And we've talked about that. So yeah, Black Adam's always a good resource, just like having our friend from Jim and Sam, Dank Means, in last time. We might have to get Black Adam to be a guest here in the town square.
That is a good idea. We might have to reach out to him.
Absolutely. He's very good and very funny. So
that's a good idea. Speaking of female performers, top-notch performers,
right?
Olivia Rodrigo had a pop-up event in New York City, sold some merchandise. Travis took his daughter because he is
a great dad. That's right.
And he took credit for it. I mean, we're both girl dads. We got some young ladies, and there's nothing like discovering something with them or they like, and then say, let's go check it out. Let's go be a part of it. Right, Chris? I mean, you do.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you might see on my social media that my daughter is now in college, that, our tradition is she has a song she wants to sing. I learn it on guitar, and then we, record it and put it up there. So yeah, you do what you do for your girls, because they're your girls or your babies, right? Yeah, so of course. So you're always going to do that. Travis is doing wonderful things like that. And that led a little bit to talking about, getting concert T-shirts and saving concert T-shirts. I have one, I think, from a Rush concert, because I loved that.
That's pretty cool.
And then a couple of knockoffs from ones that I wasn't even alive for. So that's fun. Do you have any concert T-shirts?
I do. So Conan O'Brien had his live show here. He did that live tour.
Yeah.
A bunch of American cities before he, I think it was right when he got let go from the Tonight Show. I think is when he did it, which was such a disaster. Yep, exactly. But the show was awesome, and he ran by and he was high-fiving people. I stuck out my hand like, Conan. He high-fived me, and I got a T-shirt there. but it's one of those things. Like, is it a collectible, or do you wear it? I wanted to wear it, wound up shrinking it in the dryer, or I just got enormous. Don't know which one.
I think you shrunk it in the dryer. I'm going to go with that for you, my friend, because I am your friend.
Thank you. But I also I'm a Ben Folds fan. First
Ben Folds 5. Love that.
Oh, great. I got a Ben Folds shirt too. Maybe a couple other concerts. But yeah, I do like a good concert shirt. They're fun to rock. I don't know about so much to stock, but they're fun to rock. For me.
Yeah, actually, last note on that. My wife, we went to Poi Dog Pondering, which is a fun band here in the Chicagoland area. And she was a huge fan, introduced me to that. And, in our late stage, she's like, I'm going to get a concert t-shirt because I haven't had one in a long time. She loves it. So, yeah, it's fun to have and fun to do. Fun. What's up next, my brother? Fun.
So then we got this is where we start to hear. I mean, there should be a name. We've talked about. We kind of gave him the name Airplane Jimmy. I think we should be maybe a Computer Jimmy with this new saga. Jim was, I guess, flustered that he had so much on his computer and it wasn't working. And then, I mean, I kind of understand. He's he's not as tech savvy as you. You guys are on the same age because of what you do. But he just, he needed some assistance. So Travis and Sam are like, look, you got to work off the external. So he wound up buying an 8 terabyte computer, but that didn't come, knowing Jim, that didn't come without issue, did it, Chris?
No. And, we'll talk about the delivery issue, but let's talk about the technical side of it first and foremost. He has, a good computer. I live and die by these things. These external hard drives, they are flash drives, are extremely fast. Sam kind of brought them up, and that's all you need. Well, each one is about a terabyte or 2 terabytes. Jim gets his computer loaded with 8 terabytes, and then he has to transfer all that stuff on his old computer to his new computer because he's fearful of the cloud. And his girlfriend was giving him grief on that, exactly, because she is not an older person either. And so, yeah, he had all that. I want you to talk about the delivery stuff, but I want to just complete this story about the transfer of the stuff. I also don't use the cloud, but it's not because I'm scared of it or I'm fearful of it. It's because I don't want to pay for it. So you'll see me having about 1,000 of these all over the place and using those. But tell us about how the delivery went.
No, I agree. I think those are better. It's a physical thing and you're not going to lose it somewhere in space. So I'm glad you have those. The delivery, he said, this is part I understand. He said he was waiting. Was he, because we know he is a doorman. And if you live in a building with a doorman, when you get the notice,
they sign for it. Yeah,
they sign for it, and you don't have to worry about it. They keep it for you. They might give you a call, tell you there's something down there. So Jim said he was waiting. Did you get the impression, Chris, that he was waiting like by the doorman, or like up in his place?
I believe it was up in his place because he was there when he got the email from DHL saying that the delivery was attempted and no one was home, which isn't true because Jim was there and his doorman was there. So.
So he knew it was a lie, and we know, old Jimmy doesn't like predictable corporate rigidity, which was being lied to over delivery was. So he made a heated call. He was apologetic with the lady he talked to. That I know it's not you, but he said he yelled a lot, which I can see. And eventually, he got the problem solved through one of those bots, those messenger bots, which I think are usually never helpful. So I'm
never helpful.
So we eventually got it. I think the next day.
We had the same kind of issue. I took my son's computer with him to the Apple store. They decided that it was something that they couldn't fix easily. So they said, we're going to take it, we're going to send it out, and then we'll ship it back to your home. Do you want to ship it to your home or ship it back to the Apple store? I'm like, if it's free, ship it back to my home. So they did the repairs, and that usually happens fast. I've had another computer done the same way, and it comes back really quick. They ship it out to California, boom, it comes right back. And this time it was taking a little bit longer. And boy, we got on it. We worked with the, UPS. They couldn't find it, blah, 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 blah. I wonder what happened to it when it was fixed and returned. So Apple did us a solid. They said, it's been too long. Let's file a claim. And they got us a brand new computer, same size and whatnot. But, his computer was 3 or 4 years old. So we got a brand new computer shipped out to us and then a couple of extra little things, like AirPods or whatever. So it was a solid done by Apple. But yeah, I've experienced the same kind of, hardship that Jim did and not getting the thing that you think is coming when it's supposed to.
Great resolution, though, for you. I'm glad to hear you got some stuff there. I'm glad about the tempo we've had. because now we have time to get to hot dog and really dig into hot dog. I mean, dude, we have talked about him. We've talked about him a lot lately, and we talk about, that we know Sam does not suffer fools.
Well, he does suffer one. We know that for sure. But yeah, typically Sam does not suffer fools. Continue.
Let's start lightheartedly. We'll start with how preposterous and amazing that spray-on hairline was that his barber, which his cousin,
relative,
right? He wound up giving the guy $100 because he said, oh, usually people give me 80, and he's like, I felt bad because I haven't seen his kid. So already he's a sucker with family. Like, you should get, that should be, especially because it looks terrible, that should be $20 because it's friends and family discount. Man, I mean, they just retweeted that video. I think it's on Instagram.
Yeah.
Hot dog,
and it's exaggerated by his, as they would say, his big choppers, because he had a lot of teeth in there. So yeah, that hairline with those choppers, it's not a good look for hot dog for sure.
And so you're the production guy. They went over a lot of his production follies, and Jim again sounds even more mad about Handsome Rob not taping the Philly show with Chip than before. I love that is never leaving his brain. Who knows what Rob's doing now? But we've heard bits and pieces of a lot of hot dogs mishaps with production. Which one or a couple to you are like, oh my God, I can't believe you did that? And do you have any stories where things like that?
Yeah. Not only I'm an editor, but I also shot for many years as a videographer. And Sam's thing about the establishing two shot, you got to put the guy that's paying you in the shot. Yeah. That's 101. Then you get your close-ups, and they had 3 cameras. So why isn't one on the 2 shot? It doesn't make any sense. And Sam went back to this thing that we said. He doesn't make every mistake. Let me see. Say it again. I think I won't be able to get it right. So you go ahead and say it, Scott. What is it again?
He says, he never makes the same mistake twice, but he makes every mistake
once. That's it. Yeah. It's hard to get there. I think hot dog just doesn't have it. And then, of course, Rob not pressing record. So, yeah, I've been doing this stuff for 30 years. I've had missteps, especially when you're young. I didn't put the camera on the tripod securely and it fell off. That's not good when you're 22 and there are heavy cameras. Yeah. But I do remember one, and this is not a huge mishap, but something I always think about now. I was videotaping one of our news anchors for a promo. And she came in. She was rushed. We need to get this thing shot. She got on the location, quickly, and we shot the thing. And then she came to me after it aired, and she goes, "Why didn't you tell me my hair was all messed up?" I didn't even notice it because I had to be responsible for being in focus, get good audio, good lighting. Her hair was just kind of like she slept on it on this side. So.
She has a mirror, isn't that? That's her.
It really is her responsibility, but I should have caught it, and I was just focusing on other things. So I've always been like, I got to look at everything. Is there light reflection? Is there something in the background that, someone, whatever. So that was one thing. But I really remember another production screw up that you'll appreciate. I was in high school, and I was playing in the jazz band in high school, and I play guitar, as you guys see. And our bass player, we got to the gig, he didn't have his bass. And I was livid. Where's your bass, man? Oh, I don't know. He was just kind of a dolt. And I'm like, okay. And this goes exactly with what we're talking about this week. I had another guitar. I usually bring 2 guitars on that kind of stuff. I say, okay, let's use my other guitar. Well, because I don't know if you know this, but guitars and bass are similar. The low 4 strings on the guitar, the same 4 strings on a bass, just lower, octaves lower. And so he used that. And it goes to what Montone was a fan of this whole week that Sam went to him, redundancy. I brought a second guitar in case something went wrong with my guitar. I had a backup guitar. This guy didn't even bring his bass. So I guess it helped out in the redundancy world nonetheless.
Man, yeah. And me doing stand-up for a while, there's just these stories when things go wrong and there's technical mistakes. It is like you get a drop in your stomach, especially if you're involved with it. More on hot dog. I mean, getting into him talking about he's going to have jaw surgery. So he's going to, how long do they think it's going to be? 2 months? His jaw is going to be wired. And he could have just done,
just to fix his teeth. He doesn't have a problem with his jaw. He just wants to fix his teeth. Yeah. Invisalign. Just use that. Crazy.
So that's like a huge inconvenience for him and probably everyone that knows him when it could be avoided. And getting to him not being able to eat, the Jim was talking about taking him out to dinner, and he's talking about how he wants sushi. And Sam's like, "What are you gonna do? Shove that in through the wire?" Like,
and the weirdest thing is he calls it food types instead of
Yeah.
different types of food or different food types. That doesn't make any sense. Oh my goodness.
and there's another
I mean, I'm sure he has value. Sam wouldn't keep him around. Maybe just Sam is keeping him around because he actually does have value to the show because we think he's an idiot and we laugh at it. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think this is the brilliance of Sammy B. Muffins too, because look what we're talking about. We're talking about hot dog, but at the same time, he does not beat us over the head with hot dog. If he does hijack a show because of his hijinks, because he says things like food types, and he doesn't know what kind of food he likes. And when Sam's on the road with him, he just says that he wants fried food instead of fast food or fried chicken. He said, "I would just like some fried food."
Yeah, he's a numbskull, but a numbskull that we love was back in the studio. Who was back in the studio from one of these guys that we love? That's not always as bright as he should be.
Exactly. And I mean, we're going to listen very intently when he's in and thoroughly enjoy, as we did. Moving along to
Cooper. That's what I was going for. Cooper was back in the studio. Yeah. That's what I'm talking about. A guy that we actually really do love, and he's not that bright. Cooper was back in the studio from his break, and he's back for his second semester here of interning. But he came with a couple of stories. You remember what happened to Cooper while he was off?
I'll do the flying one because he was shocked that he flew with a box cutter and that it wasn't detected by security. What the hell is he doing flying with a box cutter?
Well, he was taking some classes, I think, during the summer, or maybe this was just starting with this new semester, because I think it was over the Labor Day weekend. Or no, he said he flew on September 10th because it was real close to the anniversary of the horrible thing that happened in New York.
Yes.
But he has some art class where you have an X-Acto knife that you have to cut out things, I would assume. And it was prepackaged in this deal. And they let it through security. So our boy Cooper had a box cutter. And then he had another mishap. Something happened when he was using the restroom. Do you remember what that was?
I don't remember that one that well. I don't.
Okay, so let me tell you this. So he said, yep. And I also had to get some AirPods. I'm like, why? Well, mine fell out into the toilet. Now, Jim, of course, loves anything that's related to bathroom stuff. So Jim was questioning, okay, first of all, was it a code brown? And he said, yes, it was. He said, did they fall out in the case, or were they, out of your ear falling out? He's in the case. He goes, when I stood up, pulled my pants up, they fell in that way. And okay, like, did you get a glove to retrieve it? I don't think he did. He said he did, but I don't think he got a glove. I think he just went in there bareback, and something that Jim would appreciate.
Bareback.
And got him. And then he's like, well, I did get some replacements because they worked. How does he know they worked? He had to put the dirty ones in his ear. Gross. They worked, and I should sell them, but no, I just got some new ones and that kind of thing. So Cooper, first day back, bringing it. I love it. Back
with a vengeance. Absolutely. 100%. And one more thing for Troy, we wanted to add. I'm trying to think, what were they talking about? The guys that the escaped prisoner that was captured, right? Troy said that in discussing that, he said that drones don't make a sound. And what is your take and experience on that?
Yeah, he was saying that, wouldn't this guy hear a drone flying overhead as they're trying to get imaging that actually found him or whatever they're using?
Yeah.
Well, the drone, and I fly a drone, as part of my job. I'm licensed and with the FAA and all that kind of stuff. And the big one that I fly is kind of loud. I think you would hear that. But the smaller ones aren't as bad. The smaller ones that we use are great. You don't get really detected. But the big one, when I'm flying that and I have, legal permission to fly it where I am, people always come up to me and, question what I'm doing. And that's fine. I don't mind interest, but I got to stay focused on flying it. There's a lot of, safety issues related there. So I made up, and I'll put a picture up there, some vests that I wear when I fly that actually says, licensed drone pilot, FAA licensed drone pilot with the place I work, and then I'm supposed to be there. And that's helped, both, citizens as well as the police, understanding what I'm doing and that I actually should, I have permission to be doing so. So yeah, they make a little noise, so maybe he would have heard it. But yeah, it's kind of fun.
That's awesome. I would wear that vest like grocery shopping, just so people are like, "Where is he flying a drone in here?"
That's right.
Definitely do that. Getting to guests, we said it was jam packed this week with guests. It absolutely was, and they were all great. There were so many great breaks, and I thought all the guests were outstanding. Real quick recap: there was Craig Gass, Aaron Berg, Cedric the Entertainer, Violent J. He's joined by his girlfriend, Sarah Rusi, I think is how they said her name.
Rusi, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, Rusi. She's real big on Instagram and may or may not have an OnlyFans. And Neil deGrasse Tyson, as we said, was in with them. And we also had Mike Cannon and Adam Ferreira. So a lot of guests. I mean, what were your impressions of these guys?
Yeah, loaded guests. And I'll just go through a little bit and then pick my favorite. Craig Gass and Aaron Berg were in together, and they talked about their happiest moments, the thing that we talked about, the best thing in their apartment. And then they admitted that they like Matt Rife. It is a young comedian that everybody gives crap to. We've talked to about a couple of times. So that was kind of nice to hear. Cedric the Entertainer, he's writing a fictional novel that he put his grandfather and father in. So that's kind of cool, a little departure there. And they talked about how great that tour was that he was on and how it kind of launched so many careers. Bernie Mac, who's passed, but some of those kind of guys. Violent J and Sarah, it was great honesty by Violent J. They went over the drop kick incident from that concert.
Yep.
Yeah, and Violent J was really honest, and it was cool, and I liked that. And then we talked about NDT being in the studio, so it was short, but it was fun. It's great to have that all together. I did like the dichotomy of having Violent J and him in at the same time. Close the week with Mike and Adam, and those guys talked about, podcasts, and they went and rehashed all those podcasts. And Sam said that he doesn't listen to many podcasts, but he loves podcast fights and all those horrible things. So I'm thinking that maybe you and I should pick a fight and really, one of us walk off at some point just so we can get Sam to listen more. What do you think?
All right, we got to.
All right. So my favorite, I got to go with the Violent J part. I just, He's a big deal. They talk about it, and I'm glad that Sam brought up the Superhuman, which is one of my favorite Instagram follows, and crack up that. So I think Violent J was terrific. How about you? Who's your best?
I'm not going to argue against that. It was the big one, and especially when Neil was in, the juxtaposition was quite hilarious. But there's been a big to do about this. They got a video. It's all on social. Sam put it out, so it's like the marquee thing for this week. But I got to go against the grain. Mike Cannon is grown on me exponentially, and the story about the fight, we talk about honesty, the kind we get from Jim that we love with the show, went through the fight and what he's able to break down what he's thinking, like, I can't, I got kids, but I got to subdue this guy, and he attacked us. And then you had him break down he had a contract with Barstool Sports, was going to have a show. I don't know if it was him or guys from Here's the Scenario. I don't know how it's going to work, or if it's going to be a new co-host with him, but that it fell apart during their kind of recent reacquisition, or whatever you want to call it, when they bought it back for $1. So interesting to hear about his emotions with that. It was going to happen, didn't happen. Then he talked about, I think he had the same thing with Fallon, I think, I want to say, where he was supposed to be on and then wasn't. So he was just super interesting and honest. I love all that kind of business behind the scenes stuff. So
you did a great job in picking him as your guest of the week, because I also agreed that was a really good interview.
Yeah.
And he brought up, of course, them being attacked outside the Comedy Cellar. And also, he was with Brendan Sagalow, and Brendan hasn't been our favorite person on the show, but he grew on me a little bit because he was talking about how Brendan was, ready to go with this guy that was bothering him, and he's a large guy, and so I admired him saying he's not going to take any grief and he's going to go after that. And Mike was there, so he gets a point. Brendan does for being a stand-up guy.
100%. Let's do line of the week before we run out of time here. I'm going to let you start. Do you have finalists, or was it just one?
I have finalists, and they're all what I call quick hits. They're all just nice. Boom, one-liners. I love it. So the first one is the boys were talking about how Travis was a good dad, taking his daughter to the pop-up and knows, where to take his daughters on things. And Troy said, Travis is in the loop. And Jim mentioned, I wish. A lasso loop around your neck is, I think, what Jim was alluded to. Loved it. Quick. Another quick one. Caller calls in. Sam says, let's go to John in Ohio. And Jim says, of course I've been. Jim's been to John in Ohio. Another quick hit. Mike Cannon, of course, we just talked about Mike, came in and was talking about that, that assault that he and Brandon were, accosted outside of the Comedy Cellar. And Sam said, was it because people bought tickets? So for me, they're all quick hits. I got to go with the John in Ohio one, because that is just, I mean, it was instant. Jim is the fastest. If no one else believes Jim's funny, whatever, Jim is the fastest with the quick quip hit. It was wonderful. How about you? You got a line?
Yeah, and real quick, Voss and all the other guys, from the cellar and Tough Crowd that are also really quick, all say he's the quickest too. So absolutely unbelievable. So one of your finalists is one of mine, with Sam asking if the guy that jumped them or got involved with them outside the cellar bought tickets. I love that. That was amazing. So I hope people don't think it's a cop out, but mine is one word. It was when they asked Troy if he wanted to ask Neil deGrasse Tyson. I think the way he just said nope.
Yeah. Line of the week, word of the week, really, my brother. Yes. Perfect choice.
Yes.
Perfect choice.
Thank you, Chris. I'm so glad you came back. I'm glad you had a great trip with your family. It sounds awesome. I know Colorado is great and you're from there. And man, we had a lot to break down and I think we did it. And thanks so much for joining and all you do behind the scenes, man.
No, I appreciate you. I mean, it was this was a great week and we knocked it out of the park. It was brought up a lot. And first of all, I should back up. Thank you for hosting solo. I know how hard that is, and I appreciate what you did in doing that last week. But, it was brought up a lot this whole week with the alien being found and brought in Mexico. Where'd they bring it to, Scott? They brought it to the town square, where we hope most of you will join us next week. See you in the town square.
Thanks for watching and listening to the Jim and Sam Town Square. Please remember to like and subscribe and turn on that notification bell, not dog bell, so you don't miss an episode.
And if you're just listening to the podcast, please leave us a 5-star review. We really appreciate it.